There are moments when a dog's silence speaks louder than any sound in the world, especially when its body is carrying the hidden weight of neglect, discomfort, and tangled fur that pulls at the skin with every step. In the quiet observations inspired by veterinary insight, especially from voices like Dr. Karen Becker, we begin to understand that grooming is not vanity, but biology in motion, a restoration of comfort that often goes unseen until it becomes urgent. A severely matted coat can hide inflammation, restrict movement, and even alter behavior, making a once playful companion appear withdrawn, while in reality, the body is simply overwhelmed by physical stress. This is where Dr. Karen Becker's perspective becomes essential, because she often emphasizes that health begins at the surface level of care, where small daily actions prevent larger suffering later. And yet, beneath this understanding lies a deeper question that many caregivers never or consider, until they are faced with a dog whose coat has become a solid, painful shell, limiting not only movement but emotional expression itself. What if the discomfort is not just external, but a signal that the entire system is struggling, waiting for relief that only compassionate intervention can provide through something as simple as grooming? In one real-world observation often discussed in holistic veterinary circles, a dog once thought to be lethargic and aging suddenly revealed a completely different personality after its matted coat was carefully removed, as if a hidden layer of pain had finally been lifted. This transformation is not rare, yet it is frequently misunderstood, because many people see grooming as cosmetic rather than a form of medical relief that can restore circulation, mobility, and even emotional openness. In the philosophy often described in Nesh Sup Nesh Dr. Karen Becker discussions, the connection between external care and internal balance becomes a reminder that every brushstroke carries the possibility of healing beyond appearance. When we slow down enough to observe a dog during and after grooming, we begin to notice subtle shifts in breathing, posture, and alertness that suggests not just relief, but a return to self. Yet there is still a suspenseful truth that remains hidden for many caregivers. The most dramatic changes are often not immediate, but unfold gradually as the body recalibrates from chronic restriction into natural movement again. This is the moment where understanding deepens, where Dr. Karen Becker's teachings resonate most clearly, reminding us that prevention, gentleness, and awareness are not abstract ideals, but practical acts of love that directly influence a dog's comfort and longevity, especially when consistent grooming becomes part of a routine that protects rather than reacts. And as the coat returns to a healthy state, so too does the dog's willingness to explore, play, and trust the world again in ways that once seemed lost. In that quiet return, what looked like simple grooming was actually a doorway back to life itself, subtle yet profoundly transformative in ways that stay long after the session ends. As the story of recovery continues, the deeper truth about grooming begins to unfold in ways that extend far beyond what the eye can immediately see, because once a dog is freed from the tight grip of matted fur, the body does not simply return to normal. It reawakens in stages that reflect both physical relief and emotional release. In the framework often associated with Dr. Karen Becker, this transformation is understood as a return to biological harmony, where circulation improves, skin can finally breathe, and nerve endings that were once compressed begin sending clearer signals throughout the body. What appears to be a simple act of brushing or shaving is, in reality, a layered intervention that affects musculature, lymphatic flow, and even mood regulation, because discomfort that has been persistent for weeks or months does not disappear instantly, but it does begin to loosen its hold the moment pressure is removed. In many observed cases, dogs that were previously reluctant to stand or walk begin to take hesitant steps after grooming, not because they have suddenly become younger, but because the invisible burden they carried has finally been lifted, allowing natural movement patterns to re-emerge. This is where the philosophy of Nesh Subnesh Dr. Karen Becker becomes particularly relevant, as it emphasizes that wellness is not isolated to internal organs or external appearance, but is an interconnected system where neglect in one area inevitably influences the whole being. And yet, there is a suspenseful layer to this transformation that often surprises caregivers, because the initial reaction after grooming is not always immediate playfulness, but sometimes a quiet stillness, as if the animal is recalibrating its entire sense of physical identity after being released from prolonged restriction. During this phase, subtle behaviors begin to surface, such as stretching that was previously avoided, shaking of the coat with newfound ease, or even lying down in positions that were impossible before due to discomfort. Each movement signaling that recovery is not just happening, but stabilizing. Dr. Karen Becker often highlights that consistent grooming is not a reactive solution, but a preventive one, and when applied regularly, it reduces the likelihood of severe matting that can lead to skin infections, hot spots, and emotional withdrawal caused by chronic irritation. As caregivers begin to understand this connection, grooming shifts from a chore into a form of communication, where every touch becomes a message of safety, and every removal of debris becomes a restoration of dignity. The suspense in this realization lies in how easily it can be overlooked until a dramatic change forces awareness, such as the moment a previously withdrawn dog suddenly initiates play after days or weeks of inactivity, revealing that beneath the coat was not just discomfort, but a suppressed version of its natural personality waiting to return. In this unfolding awareness, grooming becomes less about appearance and more about unlocking the physical truth of the body, allowing energy to circulate freely again, and preparing the stage for the final transformation where health and happiness begin to merge into visible, Zauer behavior once more. In the final layer of this journey, the transformation becomes unmistakable, as the once burdened dog begins to move with a lightness that seems almost surprising to those who witnessed its earlier state. And this change reveals the profound truth that grooming is not a superficial ritual, but a foundational act of care that influences both physical health and emotional restoration. Within the holistic framework often discussed by Dr. Karen Becker, the body is viewed as an integrated system where skin, coat, muscles, and behavior are inseparable, meaning that when one area suffers, the entire organism responds in compensation, often in ways that mask the original source of discomfort. After a severely matted coat is removed and the skin is finally exposed to air, touch, and proper circulation, the dog begins to experience the world differently again, as if sensory pathways that were muted have been restored to full clarity. This is not an instant transformation, but a progressive awakening, where each hour after grooming reveals new signs of relief, from deeper sleep cycles to more confident walking patterns, and even renewed curiosity towards surroundings that once felt overwhelming or inaccessible. In the philosophy of Nesh sub Nesh, Dr. Karen Becker, this stage represents alignment between external care and internal vitality, a reminder that consistent attention to grooming is an act of preventative medicine that protects against decline long before symptoms become visible. Yet there is still a quiet suspense in this final stage, because many caregivers expect immediate exuberance, when in reality the most meaningful change is often subtle, expressed through calm breathing, relaxed posture, and a gentle willingness to engage rather than withdrawal. Over time, however, these subtle signals evolve into unmistakable behavior shifts, such as spontaneous play, increased social interaction, and a visible reduction in stress-related habits like excessive licking or hiding. These are not random improvements, but biological responses to the removal of chronic discomfort, and they highlight how deeply physical restriction can shape emotional expression in animals that rely on comfort to feel safe in their environment. Dr. Karen Becker frequently emphasizes that prevention is the highest form of care, and grooming stands as one of the simplest yet most powerful tools in achieving that goal, because it allows caregivers to identify skin issues early, maintain coat health, and preserve mobility before deterioration occurs. As this understanding settles in, grooming transforms from an occasional task into a rhythm of life, a steady practice that supports not only cleanliness but also trust between human and animal. In the end, what began as a story about tangled fur and physical relief evolves into something far more meaningful, revealing that every act of gentle care contributes to a larger narrative of healing, where dogs are not just maintained but truly understood, and where their return to playfulness is not a coincidence, but the natural result of compassion applied consistently over time, allowing health, comfort, and joy to exist together as one continuous expression of life restored.